Pasaherong bus sa Thailand biglang tumagilid sa kalsada.
Nakaligtas naman kaya ang lahat ng mga pasahero ng bus? Ating aalamin po ang mga detalye ng balitang yan maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki, Alagao, Flores. Ito po ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Biyernes.
2025 iteration ng Balikatan exercises, official nang natapos.
Malacanang hindi nabahala sa nakaambang impeachment complaint laban kay Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
India at Pakistan nagpalitan ng akusasyon sa kanila ng posibilidad ng pagkalat ng kaguluhan.
Estados Unidos at United Kingdom nagkasundo na pababain ang taripa.
At ating silipin ang venue ng pagdadausan ng 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup. Opisyal na pong natapos ang 2025 iteration na Balikatan exercises ng Pilipinas at ng Estados Unidos ngayong Biyernes.
Pinuri naman ni Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. naging deterrent effects ng Balikatan War Games mula sa naipakitang joint efforts ng puwersang sandatahang lakas ng dalawang bansa. Nagsimula noong April 21 ang taunang Balikatan kung saan higit 17,000 mga sundalo ng Pilipinas at Estados Unidos ang dumalo para magsagawa ng full battle test. Dineploy din sa taunang War Games ang Nemesis missile system ng US para palakasin ang maritime security at defense capabilities ng bansa, partikular na sa mga maritime key terrain security operations. Ayon kay Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief General Romeo Bronner Jr., ipinakita ng mga dumalong participants sa natapos ng Balikatan ng joint capabilities ng sundalo ng Pilipinas at ng Amerika. Ito ay mula sa live fire operations, cyber defense, maritime security activities, gayon din sa humanitarian assistance efforts. Iginiit din ni Bronner na hindi lamang isang series of military exercises ang Balikatan, kundi ito anya ay isang demonstrasyon ng umiiral na partnerships at collaborative resolve ng Pilipinas at ng kaalyado nito.
Ipinabot naman ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang kanyang pagbati kay Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese matapos muli siyang makiluklok bilang leader ng Canberra. Sa inilabas na video message ni PBBM, kanyang binigyan diin ang patuloy na paglago ng ugnayan ng Manila at Canberra sa bawat taong lumilipas. Dahil anya ito sa umiiral na pagkakaibigan nilang dalawa ni Albanese. Umaasa din ang Pangulo na masusundan pa ang kanilang pagkikita sa mga susunod na pagkakataon.
To my friend, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, on your resounding victory, congratulations. This renewed mandate speaks volumes of the trust and confidence your people have in your leadership. And I have no doubt you shall carry it forward with the same resolve and vision that you have long defined your public service. The ties between our two countries have grown stronger with each passing year, anchored not just in shared values, but in genuine friendship.
Sa halip na mabahala ay minaliit ng Malacanang ang nakaambang impeachment complaint laban kay Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Sinabi ni Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro sa isang briefing sa Malacanang na karapatan ng mga complainant na magsampa ng reklamo.
Karapatan po nila kung nais po nila magsampa, pero iniulit po natin ang complaint na to ay sa ating pagtingin ay walang pinanghuhugutan.
Inihain ang impeachment complaint dahil sa pagpayag ng gobyerno na dalhin si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte sa International Criminal Court. Ang grounds ng reklamo ay culpable violation of the Constitution at betrayal of public trust dahil pinahintulutan ni PBBM ang umano'y iligal na pagkakaaresto kay FPRRD.
Binigyan diin naman o binigyan ng Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board o LTFRB ng special permits ang mahigit sa 800 mga bus ngayong paparating na eleksyon. kay LTFRB spokesperson Attorney Ariel Inton, umabot na sa 829 bus units ang nakatanggap ng special permits, epektibo mula May 9 hanggang May 18, 2025. Marami anyang nag-apply para sa special permit, subalit hindi nila ito pinagbigyan dahil bagsak ang mga ito sa inspection at maging sa random drug testing. Nilinaw din ni Inton na wala silang ibinigay ng special permit sa mga sasakyan na gagamitin ng mga kandidato para maghatid ng mga botante sa mga presinto.
Isa sa ilalim sa heightened alert ang seguridad ng Metro Rail Transit Line 3 sa Lunes, araw po yan ng 2025 midterm elections. Kasunod dito ng inaasahang pagdagsa ng mga commuter sa kabila ng non-working holiday sa Lunes. Naglagay rin ng help desk sa bawat istasyon ng MRT habang asahan din ang deployment ng K9 units mula sa Philippine Coast Guard. Patatakbuhin din anya ang 19 na train sets sa peak hours ng operasyon upang matiyak na maa-accommodate ang lahat ng pasahero.
Inaasahan naman po na magpapatuloy sa susunod na linggo ang rollback sa mga produktong petrolyo. Batay sa 4 na araw ng kalakalan, maaaring bumaba ng 78 sentimos ang presyo kada litro ng gasolina. 1.36 naman ang posibleng rollback sa presyo ng kada litro ng diesel, habang 1.39 naman ang maaaring maging bawas sa presyo ng kerosene o gaas. Ayon po sa Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau, nakikita nilang pangunahing dahilan ng rollback ay ang mataas na supply ng langis sa pandaigdigang merkado. Samantala, sa Lunes pa malalaman ang eksaktong galaw sa presyo ng langis.
Susunod, India at Pakistan ang nanganganib ng maggera.
Australia nais mamagitan sa trade war ng China at ng US.
At world leaders nagdagsaan sa Moscow upang gunitain ang Victory Day Parade kasama si Russian President Vladimir Putin. Yan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
It's hotter, the most awaited happening of your summer. It's the Summer Blast 2025. But wait, the best got better because it is Net 25's silver anniversary. Let's vibe this Summer Blast together with Net 25. Summer Blast 2025 is brought to you by our presenter, Clean and Fit. Our gold sponsors, Eurotel, Hotel Dream World. Silver sponsors, Pure Gold, Micaela, Top Bank, Tiki Tiki Syrup, Tiki Tiki Plus Drops, Photoism, Pure Foods Tender Juicy Hot Dog. Sponsors, J&T Express, Lux Beauty and Wellness Group, MM Royal Care Marketing Services Incorporated, De Los Santos Medical Center, and the Department of Health.
Ngayong eleksyon, hatid ng Net25 News and Information ang malawak na pagbabantay sa boto ng bayan. Mula botohan hanggang bilangan. Kasama ang mga pangalang may prinsipyo at paninindigan. Matatag, matapang at matapat. Mula Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Sama-sama tayong maging mata ng halalan.
Trask Construction.
Patuloy ang paglawak ng tensyon sa pagitan ng India at Pakistan matapos mauwi sa girian ang pag-deploy ng military drones ng Indian Army.
I think the first point that you have to keep in mind is the attack of 22nd April in Pahalgam is the original escalation. Pakistan has also claimed that India deliberately attacked religious sites. This is completely false again. I have made it clear that the targets were terrorist infrastructure, terrorist facilities, and locations connected clearly with incidents of cross-border terrorism into India. And it is in fact Pakistan that is misusing religious sites as a cover to in fact radicalize, direct and indoctrinate and train terrorists. In fact, since yesterday morning, a total of 16 civilians have been killed and 59 others have been injured in the attacks by Pakistan. Pakistan is the one that has been acting in violation of the treaty, deliberately creating legal roadblocks in India exercising its legitimate rights on the western rivers.
Ito ay nagresulta sa pagkamatay ng mga sibilyan. Ayon sa India, ang pag-atake ay ginawa upang maneutralize ang mga susunod na hakbang ng Pakistani Army. Nagsimula muli ang palitan ng putok ng dalawang panig matapos magpaula ng missiles ng India sa ilang location sa Pakistan na kumitil sa halos 40 katao.
लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पे ना सिर्फ 40 से 50 इनके हमने भारतीय फौजी हलाक किए हैं, बल्कि जो इनके ब्रिगेड हेडक्वार्टर उड़ाया और आपने वो आग देखी, मैं यूनिट की बात नहीं कर रहा। कन्वेंशनल वॉरफेयर में ये बहुत बड़ी कामयाबी होती है कि आप पूरे ब्रिगेड हेडक्वार्टर को उड़ा दें। और शर्मिंदगी भी ऐसी, अब इन्होंने अनमैन्ड ड्रोन्स भेजना शुरू किए, क्योंकि इनके पायलट सब शायद कहते होंगे कि जी हम क्यों जाएं मार खाने के लिए, आपने तो कहा था बड़ी सुपीरियर टेक्नोलॉजी है। और भाई बात जहाज की नहीं होती, बात पायलट की होती है जो जहाज को उड़ा रहा होता है कि उसमें कितनी हिम्मत है, कितना हौसला है।
Ayon sa Indian government, ito ay kanilang ganti matapos ang terror attack sa Kashmir na mariin nilang idiniin na Pakistan ang may pasimuno.
This attack compelled us to respond on 7th May by striking at cross-border terrorist infrastructure. Our response was targeted and measured. It is not our intention to escalate the situation. However, if there are military attacks on us, there should be no doubt that it will be met with a very, very firm response. As a neighbor and a close partner, it is important that you have a good understanding of the situation.
Itinanggi naman ng Pakistan Ministry of Foreign Affairs ang mga paratang ng kalabang panig.
इंडिया में एक हाइप क्रिएट की हुई है उन्होंने कल से कि 15 लोकेशंस पे पाकिस्तान ने अटैक किया। ना ये जो 15 लोकेशंस पे वो जो कह रहे हैं अटैक किया है, it is such a fantastic and cooked up story that you can just laugh about it. I'll ask few questions on this. The first question is कि is the Indian government and the armed forces, are they living in 18th century or 21st century? Because in 21st century, every projectile leaves a digital trace and signature.
Samantala, ipinahayag ng Pakistan na nangunguna ang Estados Unidos sa pagtunto ng solusyon na makakapagpakalma sa tensyon sa pagitan ng India at ng Pakistan. Kaugnay po nito, ayon rin sa Islamabad, dumaramay ang mga bansa sa Gulf para sa ikapapayapa ng rehiyon. Narito po si Rizal Feria para sa detalye ng balitang yan.
Nangunguna ang Washington sa global efforts upang pakalmahin ang mainit na iringan ngayon ng India at Pakistan. Yan ang pahayag ni Pakistani Defense Minister Khawaja Mohammad Asif noong Huwebes.
The most prominent in this lot is United States of America, because President Trump has openly advocated peace and de-escalation of situation in subcontinent.
Samantala, sa kabila ng pagnanais ng pagkalma sa sitwasyon, ginarantiya ni Asif na bobombahin nila ang military installations ng India, subalit nangakong hindi nila aatakihin ang populasyong sibilyan.
We will not hit the civilian population, not at all. We'll refrain from that, but we'll definitely hit their military installations. Military installation, their bases, their forward positions on all the three control line, working boundary, and international boundary.
Noong Huwebes, inakusahan ng Pakistan at India ang isa't isa ng paglulunsad ng drone attacks. Kung kaya't sinabi ni Asif na ang pagganti ay tiyak na magaganap. Nanawagan na ang US, Russia at China ng pagkalma sa pinakapopuladong nuclear flashpoint regions. Sa kaugnay na balita, sinabi rin ni Asif na kasali ang Gulf nation sa mahakbang upang i-de-escalate ang India-Pakistan tension. Subalit sa kabila nito, iginiit ni Asif na ginagawang imposible ng India na itigil ang labanan.
Some of the countries in the Arabian Gulf also, who are close to us, and obviously they have a good relationship with India also, they have also advised that de-escalation should take place immediately. But India is making it, it's almost impossible. Every day there is an incident which raises the bar of conflict in the subcontinent.
Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Kamakailan sinabi ng Australian Treasurer na uunahin ng kanilang bagong gobyerno ang pagtugon sa anyay glooming shadow na dulot ng US and China trade war. Narito si Emmy Capilita Rojas sa Brisbane, Australia para sa karagdagang detalye.
Pagkatapos ng ipinanalong re-election, tiniyak ni Australian Treasurer Jim Chalmers na pagtutuunan nito ng pansin ang epekto sa bansa at sa mundo ng gusot kalakalan sa pagitan ng US at China.
Back to work, obviously the immediate focus is on this global economic uncertainty, particularly the US and China part of that and what it means for us. And so I was able to be briefed on that, what's happening in markets and what it means for the Australian economy. So clearly that's the immediate focus. And again, I think one of the reasons why we got this big majority last night is because people recognised that if you wanted stability while the global economy was going crazy, then a majority Labor government was the best way to deliver that.
Dagdag ni Chalmers, hindi man gaanong matindi ang maaaring maging epekto sa Australia ng mga taripa, may dalang madilim na anino sa pambuong mundong ekonomiya ang gusot sa pagitan ng US at China.
I think the spectrum of scenarios is much broader now. We know that the direct impact on us from the tariffs is manageable and relatively modest. But there is a huge downside risk in the global economy. I think what's happening, particularly between the US and China, does cast a dark shadow over the global economy, and we're not uniquely impacted by that, but we're really well placed. We are quite well prepared because of the progress that Australians made over the course of the last 3 years. So we go in that with a sense of, we're realistic about how this could play out in the world, but we are optimistic about Australia's place in that. So that is.
Ayon pa kay Chalmers, malaki ang impluwensya ng kaligaligan ng pambuong mundong ekonomiya sa kanyang pag-iisip at pagtatrabaho. Aniya, kailangan matiyak ang abilidad ng Australia na tumugon sa kaligaligang ito habang isinusulong ang agendang pambansa. Ibinida nito ang kinabukasang gawa sa Australia mula sa pabahay, enerhiya, teknolohiya, mamumuhunan sa tao, kompetisyon at patakaran. Emi Kapilita Roja, Brisbane, Australia, para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nagkasundo naman sina Chinese President Xi Jinping at Russian President Vladimir Putin na matibay na pagsasamahan.
Дальнейшему росту совокупного объема встречных капиталовложений, несомненно, поспособствует и подписанное сегодня межправсоглашение об их поощрении и взаимной защите. Углублению коммерческих связей заметно содействуют и своевременно предпринимаемые в России и Китае скоординированные шаги по переводу расчетов между нашими странами в национальные валюты. Как результат, практически все российско-китайские внешнеторговые операции выполняются в рублях и юанях. То есть, по сути, выстроена устойчивая система взаимной торговли, которая надежно защищена от влияния третьих стран и негативных тенденций на мировых рынках. Существенное.
Sa ginawang pagbisita ni Xi sa Moscow ay pumirma sila ng kasunduan para sa mas malalim na samahan. Bago ang pirmahan ay nagkaroon ng pulong ang dalawang lider na aabot sa halos 4 na oras. Ang nasabing pag-uusap ng dalawa ay kasunod ng walang katiyakan sa pahayag ni US President Trump na America First diplomacy. Ayon kay Putin na ang foreign policy partnership sa pagitan ng China at Russia ay siyang susi para magkaroon ng katahimikan sa buong mundo.
Общее героическое прошлое, боевое братство, надежный фундамент для развития и укрепления российско-китайских отношений. И эти отношения достигли наивысшего за всю историю уровня. Они самодостаточны и не зависят от внутриполитических факторов или текущей мировой конъюнктуры.
Giit ni Xi na ang nasabing samahan ng dalawang bansa ay makikinabang ang lahat or pakikinabangan ng lahat.
中俄双方要继续深化各领域务实合作，夯实全面战略协作的物质基础，不断造福两国人民，为全球发展注入更强劲动能。
Nasa Russia si Xi para sa kanyang 4 na araw na state visit kung saan kabilang siya sa dadalo din sa Victory Day military parade ng Russia.
Inakusahan ni Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky ang Russia ng paglabag sa ceasefire na ito mismo ang may deklara.
Сьогодні також була доповідь главкома Сирського щодо наших активних дій на території Курської та Білгородської областей. Ми захищаємо українську землю від ворожої активності в прикордонні. Я хочу подякувати сьогодні кожному підрозділу, всім нашим солдатам, всім нашим сержантам і командирам. Дякую вам всім за стійкість та реальну силу, яка так потрібна Україні.
Iniulat ng Ukrainian Air Force noong Huwebes ng gabi na nagsagawa ang Russian Air Force ng guided bomb sa Sumy region ng Ukraine. Nangyari ito 4 na oras lamang, makalipas ang inanunsyong 3-day ceasefire ni Vladimir Putin. Hindi naman nag-atubili ang Ukrainian government sa pagbatikos kay Putin kung saan tinawag nilang mapanlinlang ang isinulong na ceasefire ng presidente at wala namang intensyon si Putin na sundin ito. Patuloy naman si Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky na nauna ng tinanggihan ang 3-day ceasefire sa kanyang panawagan para sa isang komprehensibong 30-day ceasefire. Wala pang binibigay na komento ang Kremlin ukol sa insidente.
І абсолютно справедливо, що російське небо агресора сьогодні дзеркально, теж неспокійно. Україна і наша пропозиція припинити удари, припинити вогонь, щонайменше на 30 діб залишається в силі. Ми не знімаємо цю пропозицію, яка може дати шанс дипломатії. Але саме від Росії світ не бачить відповіді. Жодної відповіді. крім нових ударів. Це максимально чітко, очевидно для всіх демонструє, хто джерело війни.
Mismong si Russian President Vladimir Putin ang nanguna sa pagsisimula ng Victory Parade ng Russia bilang paggunita nila sa ika-80 taong anibersaryo ng pagkatalo ng Nazi Germany noong World War II. Nakasama ni Putin si Chinese President Xi Jinping at maging si Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva na sumaksi sa mahalagang aktibidad na ito. Bukod pa kina Xi at Lula ay dumalo rin sa Victory Parade ang mga sundalo ng North Korea. Itinampok sa Victory Parade ang pagmarcha ng daan-daang mga sundalo ng Moscow at iba't ibang arsenal ng Russia sa Red Square.
Sa gitna ng pagnanais ng Washington na matiyak ang tigil putukan sa pagitan ng Russia at Ukraine, sinabi ni US President Donald Trump na maaari itong magpatulong sa China upang mapabilis ang kasunduan. Si Jeff Sanidad para sa Balita.
Noong Huwebes, nagpahapyaw si Pangulong Donald Trump na marahil ay hihingi ito ng tulong sa Beijing ukol sa tinatrabahong ceasefire ng Washington sa pagitan ng Kyiv at Moscow. Sa isang White House news conference ukol sa pag-anunsyo ng isang UK-US trade deal, tinanong ang Pangulo kung hihingi ito ng tulong sa China para sa pag-ayos ng Ukraine-Russia conflict.
Mr. President, will you be asking China to help you close, the gap between Ukraine and Russia?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's a natural thing to ask.
What do you expect?
Sure. I don't know. I think we're making good progress. The fighting is a little bit different than it was.
Noong nangangampanya pa ang Pangulo, ipinangako nito ang isang ceasefire sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa. Subalit tila walang plano si Putin na tigilan ang gyera nito laban sa Ukraine. At sa ika-4 na taon ng labanan, pansamantalang itinigil ni Trump ang tulong militar nito sa Ukraine. Samantala noong Huwebes, lumagda sina Russian President Vladimir Putin at Chinese President Xi Jinping ng isang kasulatan na nagpapalalim ng komprehensibo at estrahitikong ugnayan ng dalawang bansa. Ayon kay Putin, kayang tumindig mag-isa ang relasyon ng Russia at China at ipagpapatuloy ng dalawang bansa ang pagpapalawak ng kanilang national currencies na ginagamit sa mga kasunduan. Jeff Sanidad para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nagkasundo na ang United Kingdom at Estados Unidos sa isang trade pact na magbibigay daan sa mas malawak na kalakalan sa gitna o sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa.
Thank you, Mr. President, Donald. And this is a really fantastic, historic day in which we can announce this deal between our two great countries, and I think it's a real tribute to the history that we have of working so closely together. Can I pay tribute, Donald, to your negotiating team as well, particularly Howard and Jameson, who've done an incredible job, a very professional job, and my team as well. Two negotiating teams have worked at pace now for a number of weeks to bring in this deal today. Really important deal. This is going to boost trade between and across our countries. It's going to not only protect jobs but create jobs, opening market access.
Naglalayo ng trade pact na amyendahan ang tariff policy na ipinato ng US President Donald Trump sa bansa. Sa ilalim ng bagong trade pact, magkakaroon ng dalawang bansa ng auto-export exemptions para sa halos 100,000 na kotse kada taon na manggagaling po sa United Kingdom. Sisimulan din ito ang isang steel and aluminum trading zone na magmumula sa 25% tariffs ay magiging tax-exempt na rin. Nais din itong palakasin ang palitan ng agricultural products katulad ng manok at karneng baka sa gitna ng dalawang bansa sa harap ng kakulangan ng supply dahil po yan sa bird flu.
This is going to boost trade between and across our countries. It's going to not only protect jobs but create jobs, opening market access. And as you say, Donald, the timing couldn't be more apt because not only was it 80 years ago today that victory came for Europe after and at the end of the Second World War. But of course, on that day, the UK and the US stood together as the closest of allies. And now we take this into new and important territory by adding trade and the economy to the closeness of our relationship.
Naisama din sa usapan ang posibilidad ng pagbaba ng taripa sa iba't ibang sektor, katulad po yan ng pharmaceuticals, digital services, pati na rin ang pinaplanong taripa ni Donald Trump sa foreign films ay pinaplanong amyendahan, subalit wala pang opisyal na inilalabas na alituntunin ang White House at maging ang Downing Street ukol dito.
Now, of course, we are the first country to secure such a deal with the United States. And in an era of global insecurity and instability, that is so important. The great challenge of our age is to secure and to renew Britain. And that is what we're going to do. Acting in the national interest, shaping this new era, not being shaped by it. If it's not good for Britain, we won't do it. If it doesn't mean more money in people's pockets, we won't do it. If it doesn't mean security and renewal in every part of the country, we won't do it. And we've got scope now to increase that quota as we go forward. So this is not fixed. This is where we've got to. And all of these tariff cuts will come into place as soon as possible. And that's really important as well in relation to the work that you're doing and the brilliant cars that you make.
Batay sa isang pahayag noong Huwebes, naglunsad ang European Commission ng isang public consultation na tumatarget sa US imports na nagkakahalaga ng 95 billion euros o 107.2 billion US dollars. Nagbabala ang Unyon ng retaliatory measures sakaling mabigo ang negosasyon nito sa Estados Unidos. Alamin natin kay Jessica Valerio kung ano-ano ang sakop ng konsultasyong ito.
Sakop ng EU public consultation ang malawak ng US industrial at agricultural goods. Kabilang sa mga produktong ito ay frozen meat, aircraft, kotse at partes ng kotse, chemicals, electrical equipment, healthcare products at machinery. Katapat nito, tinitimbang naman ng bloc ang panibagong mga tuntunin ukol sa 4.4 billion euros ng European Union exports papuntang Estados Unidos tulad ng mga produktong bakal at kemikal. Sa kasalukuyan, humaharap ang EU sa 25% taripa ng US sa bakal, aluminyo at mga sasakyan. Gayon din ang 10% baseline duties sa iba pang angkat ng mga produkto. Nakaabang ang bloc sa maaaring pagtatapos ng 90-day tariff truce sa 8 ng Hulyo. Kung walang kasunduan, maaaring tumaas ang US universal tariff sa 20%. Kaugnay nito, inanunsyo ng komisyon na maglulunsad ang EU ng World Trade Organization dispute laban sa reciprocal tariffs at duties sa mga sasakyan at partes nito. Magsusumite ang Unyon ng formal na kahilingan para sa mga konsultasyon at sinasabing nilalabag ng US measures ang mga pangunahing tuntunan ng WTO. Jessica Valerio para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nagpadala na matinding babala ang Islamic Revolution Guards Corps o IRGC laban sa kahit anong banta sa Iran. Kasabay ng pag-anunsyo ang pagpapakita ng panibagong underground drone hangar ng Iran. Kasunod naman ito ng pagbanta ng Israel at Estados Unidos na balak nitong puntiryahin ang mga nuclear energy facilities ng Tehran. Sinabi ni General Hossein Salamin na handa ang Iranian Navy na tugunan na ang kahit anong pag-atake ng bansa na gustong maging hadlang sa pansariling interes ng Tehran. Inilabas ang tour ng naturang pasilidad bago ang fourth round ng US-Iran nuclear talks na naglalayong wakasan na ang Iran o ng Iran ang kanilang nuclear program. Giit naman ng Iran na ginagamit lamang nila ang kanilang nuclear technology para sa enerhiya at depensa ng kanilang bansa.
هر نقطه‌ای در هر سرزمینی مبدأ تهاجم بشه اون نقطه برای ما مقصد تهاجم خواهد و هر نقطه دیگری که منفعت دشمن ما در اون قرار داشته باشه را مورد هدف و اصابت قرار میدیم.
Sa kauna-una kauna-unahang pagkakataon, nagpulong ang Prime Minister ng Canada at ang Pangulo ng Estados Unidos sa Washington, D.C. Kasama sa mga pinag-usapan ng dalawang lider ang ideyang gawing ika-51 estado ng US ang Canada. Alamin natin ang pananaw ni Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney ukol dito. Si Marjorie Quintos para sa report.
Sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon bilang mga pinuno ng magkalapit bansa, nagpulong sina President Donald Trump ng US at Prime Minister Mark Carney ng Canada. Ayon kay Carney, nakabubuti ang naganap na diskusyon nilang dalaw ni Trump. Aniya, kapwa na sila nakatanaw sa muling pagkikita sa G7 Summit na gaganapin sa Kananaskis, Alberta, Canada.
President Trump and I met today as leaders of two sovereign independent nations. And I want to thank the President and the members of his cabinet that attended for welcoming me and my colleagues to the White House and for our very constructive discussions. We had what I would describe as wide-ranging and, as I said a moment ago, very constructive discussions. We agreed to have further conversations in the coming weeks, and we are looking forward to meeting in person at the G7 summit in Kananaskis in Alberta.
Kaugnay ng mainit na issue ukol sa pagnanais ni Trump na gawing estado na rin ng US ang Canada, nanindigan si Carney na hindi kailanman ipinagbibili ang bansa nito.
The President has made known his wish about that issue for some time. I've been careful always to distinguish between wish and reality. I was clear there in the Oval Office, as I've been clear throughout on behalf of Canadians, that this is never going to happen. Canada is not for sale. It never will be for sale. Some things, as I said in the room, some things are never for sale. And he agreed with that. So I distinguish between the two, and then with respect to the importance of reestablishing a constructive relationship for negotiations of a partnership, of an economic and security partnership, which is what we were here for. I look forward, not back, and I think we established a good basis today.
Tugon ni Trump sa pahayag ni Carney, never say never. Mula nang pumuestong muli si Trump bilang Pangulo ng US, nagkaroon ng tensyon ang administrasyon nito sa bansang Canada. Kabilang sa dahilan ng tensyong ito ay ang paulit-ulit ng pagbanggit ni Trump na ibilang ang Canada sa Estados Unidos, gayon din ang mainit na isyu ng taripa. Ayon sa Canadian leader, walang desisyong naabot ukol sa mga taripa. Ani Carney, ito ay isang masalimuot na negosasyon.
We're having a very complex negotiation about a wide range of issues, and it's as I said before I came here, I wouldn't have expected white smoke coming out of this meeting. That was not my expectation. That because of the nature of the negotiation, so you don't expect to have specific progress as things move along, even when you're making progress, because it's a global. That's why it's a global negotiation.
Matapos ang pag-uusap ng dalawang leader, sinabi ni Carney na bumuti ang kanyang pakiramdam ukol sa relasyon ng dalawang bansa.
It was a very constructive meeting. I feel better about the relations in the sense of, in many respects, one, the posture, if I can put it that way, or the positioning the President took towards us. Secondly, the breadth of discussion and how concrete the discussions were. These are the discussions you have when you're looking to find solutions as opposed to laying down terms, if you will. So feel better about that.
Dagdag ni Carney, ang pagkakaroon ng magkawangis na interes ng kapwa bansa ay hudyat ng mabuting relasyon.
Where we have common interests, common concerns, and that, of course, is a sign of a broader and very healthy, a healthy relationship. Look, we have, JP, we have a lot more work to do. I'm not trying to suggest at any respect that we can have one meeting and everything's changed, but now we are engaged and very fully engaged.
Marjorie Quintos para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Susunod, Bill Gates magbibigay ng ayuda sa mga apektado ng global aid cuts.
Including the U.S.
FIFA ipinakita na ang venue ng paparating na Women's World Cup.
At netizens inaabangan ang pag-ere ng Summer Blast TV special. Mga detalye po ng mga balita niyan at iba pa sa pagbabalik na mata ng Agila International.
Trask? Rider! It's hotter! The most awaited happening of your summer. It's the Summer Blast 2025! But wait, the best got better! Because it is Nat 25's silver anniversary! Let's vibe this Summer Blast together with Nat 25! Summer Blast 2025 is brought to you by our presenter, Clean and Fit. Our gold sponsors, Eurotel, Hotel Dream World. Silver sponsors, Pure Gold, Micaela, Top Bank, Tiki Tiki Syrup, Tiki Tiki Plus Drops, Photowism, Pure Foods Tender Juicy Hot Dog. Sponsors, J&T Express, Lux Beauty and Wellness Group, MM Royal Care Marketing Services Incorporated, De Los Santos Medical Center, and the Department of Health.
Financial security is more important than ever. But what if you could get all your protection needs, life, health, property, and more in one place? Join us as we sit down with Emil Quijano, a leader in direct selling and business expansion, to explore the success story of Royal Care Marketing Services.
Now, insurance is different. Insurance becomes an investment, savings, protection.
What if something happened? Nandun yung ating peace of mind, security.
In terms of the serving, sinisigurado po namin na sulit yung mababayaran nila. Plus the ambience na ino-offer po ng restaurant.
Open for business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sunday 25.
Nagbabalik ang mata ng Agila International at sa pagpapatuloy po ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Nakaligtas ang 36 na pasahero matapos tumagilid ang isang pampasaherong bus sa Thailand. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, sugatan ang mga ito at dinala silang lahat sa pagamutan para bigyan ng medikal na atensyon. Batay sa inisyal na investigasyon ng Mathay Police, nakatulog ang driver ng bus sa gitna ng kanilang biyahe. Kasalukuyang nakikipag-ugnayan na ang pulisya sa kumpanya na kinabibilangan ng bus para mapag-usapan ang kompensasyon na ibibigay nito sa mga biktima.
Isa pang sakuna na bagsakan naman ng concert stage ang maraming tao sa Mexico na ikinasugat ng hindi bababa sa 7 katao. Ayon sa Secretariat of Comprehensive Risk Management and Civil Protection, malakas na hangin ang nagpatumba sa metal structure na ito. Dumating naman sa site ang mga emergency crew para magbigay ng medical assistance sa mga nasaktang individual. 2 sa mga ito ang dinala sa pagamutan dahil sa tindi ng pinsala na kanilang natamo.
Namataan ang isang malaking formation ng water spout sa baybayin ng Gulf of California. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang mga water spout ay makakalintulad sa mga buhawi, subalit nabubuo ito sa mga katubigan. Wala man ang napaulat na weather disturbances sa bayan ng Puerto Peñasco at nakakitaan lamang ito ng mild conditions and temperatures na nasa 21 degrees Celsius.
Nasagip ng South African Park Rangers at ng isang local wildlife organization ang higit sa 80 mga vultures o buwitre mula sa mass poisoning sa Kruger National Park ng South Africa. Batay sa suspecha ng mga otoridad, mga poachers ang may pakana sa mass poisoning na ito. Pinaniniwala ang gumamit ang mga ito ng agricultural toxins para targetin ang mga species na may body parts na maaaring ibenta bilang sangkap sa traditional medicine. Sa kasalukuyan, higit sa 120 mga buwitre na ang nasawi sa panlalason.
Maaaring huling araw na po ngayon ang operasyon ng pagbibigay ng tulong ng pagkain sa Gaza. Ito ay sa gitna ng dose-dosenang nagsarang communal kitchen sa nasabing teritoryo. Wala na rin po kasing maipamahagi sa dahilang walang tulong na nakakapasok sa enclave dulot ng pamimigil ng Israel. Rose Papa Angeles para sa balita niyan.
Ngayon o bukas ang huling araw ng operasyon. Iyan ang mga katagang hirap na binitawan ni Communal Kitchen Supervisor Yasser Aburayash sa Khan Yunis, Gaza. Ang pagsasara ng dose-dosen ng libreng kusina ay pagkital din sa linya ng buhay para sa daan-daang libong mga tao na hanggang ngayon ay naiipit sa laban ng Israel at Hamas. Ayon kay Rayash, tanging ang pagbubukas muli ng crossings ang makapagsasalba sa nagugutom at nanghihinang mga residente ng teritoryo.
تكية الطعام هذه تطعم يعني عشرات الأسر النازحة وهي على أبواب الإغلاق بسبب إحكام المعابر وإغلاق المعابر لمدة شهرين كاملين متواصلين. فكما تشاهدون أن الطعام لا يكفي والمواد التموينية على وجه النفاذ. فأسأل الله أن ربنا يسخر وأن تفتح المعابر لإغاثة اللهفان والبطون الجائعة والقلوب المكلومة في قطاع غزة.
Inisa-isa ni Rayash ang mga kusinang nagsara at hapis na sinabing susunod na rin ang kusinang kanyang kinabibilangan. Anya dahil sa nagsara na ang World Central Kitchen Charity at iba pang mga international aid institutions, hindi na makapagpapatuloy pa ang local communal kitchens.
مطبخ العالم وكذلك WFP والWCK وكذلك الهورو والبايوس كل المؤسسات الدولية ومن ضمن أيضا مؤسسة رحمة العالم بشكل كامل ونحن من خلف تلك المؤسسات ربما يكون هذا اليوم آخر يوم أو بعد غد لأنه نفذت الكمية الطعام بشكل تام وأسأل الله أن ربنا يفرج الكرب وينفس الهم عاجلا غير
Tulad ng maraming Palestinians na ipit sa labanan, nangaapuhap ng sagot si Huda Abudaya. Ito na nga ba niya ang huling araw na makakakain ng kanyang pamilya?
فيش اليوم اخر يوم مش هناكل حنموتنا نجوع احنا عشان خاطر اولادنا يعني احنا ندوبنا عشان نتاكل التكيه بس احنا ولا بنطبخ ولا بنعمل ولا بنعمل ولا حاجه كله على النار وبنشحت شحده كمان يعني لو التكيه عين كذا احنا متنا عشان خاطر اولادنا ايش نسوي احنا بقول لهم اخر يوم مش كان نسوي شو طعمهم بكره طيب
Ani Abudaya, tanging sa communal kitchens lamang sila umaasa sa ikabubuhay araw-araw.
كله غالي فيش اصلا خضره فيش غير الفلفل بس في الدنيا فيش شيء كله مقطوع فيش ولا حاجه عندنا كل شغله كل شغله فيش ولا حاجه عندنا يعني وضع تحت الصفر من مره احنا يعني احنا شويه ونموت من الجوع يعني لهم الله الحمد لله لهم التكيه كمان علينا كزمان متنا كمان احنا.
Isinisisi ang kawalan ng supplies at pagkain sa paghaharang ng Israel na makapasok ang tulong mula sa labas ng enclave. Sa kasalukuyan, nagsara na ang may 170 community kitchens sa Gaza dahil wala na ngang maipamahagi ang mga ito. Sinasabing nasa 400,000 hanggang 500,000 na libreng pagkain kada araw para sa 2.3 milyong populasyon ang mahihinto. Rose Papa Angeles para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Nangako ang bilyonaryong si Bill Gates na magbibigay siya ng $200 bilyong bago ang taong 2045. Alamin natin kay NJ de Guzman kung saan nais gamitin ni Gates ang napakalaking halagang ipamimigay niya.
Ang donasyong $200 billion ni philanthropist Bill Gates ay nais nitong gamitin tungo sa pagpugsa sa sakit na polio at malaria, wakasan ang maiwasang pagkamatay ng mga kababaihan at kabataan at ibsan ang paghihirap sa mundo. Noong Huwebes, ipinangako ni Gates ang pamimigay ng $200 billion na ito na idaraan sa kanyang charitable foundation bago ang taong 2045. Kasabay ng pledge na ito, pinatamaan ni Gates si Elon Musk at inakusahan ang pinakamayamang lalaki sa mundo na dahilan ng pagkamatay ng milyong-milyong tao. Ito ay dahil sa malawakang pagtagpas ni Musk sa US foreign aid budget.
I think Elon, hasn't been out in the field and met these USAID workers like I have. I think it's heroic work, and I think what he did over that weekend is very unfortunate, including mischaracterizing what the money was being spent on.
Nagbabala si Gates ng pag-atras ng dekadang progreso na sana sa pagbawas ng mortalidad.
Then we have the next period of time, could be 4 years, 6 years, where we're having funding cuts from a number of countries, including the U.S., and the number of deaths will start going up for the first time. They went down from around 10 million to less than 5 million, and now, it's going to be millions of more deaths because of the resources.
Dagdag pa ni Gates, napakaliit na bahagi ng US budget ang biglang ipinagkait na tulong sa mga nangangailangan.
If you say to people, hey, how much is the U.S. spending on aid? People say, oh, it must be like 5 or 10%, and maybe they should spend a little bit less. We're happy with 1% of the U.S. budget will let us do these incredible things, and most people don't realize the success we've had and how modest it is. And we're the biggest advocate for this global health work, not just in the United States, but in every rich country in the world.
Binigyan diin ni Gates na kailangan magtuon ng pansin muli ang pamahalaan ng US sa mga bagay tulad ng polio.
Polio is one where the Gates Foundation is significantly the biggest funder, but the US government up till now has been the second biggest funder. We need them to rededicate themselves, or else that disease will spread back and again paralyze hundreds of thousands of children. We're talking about tens of millions of lives that have been saved through these partnerships, and everybody should be excited about every single death we avoid.
Ani Gates, sa kabila ng pondong mayroon ng kanyang foundation, hindi makakamit ang pagsulong kung walang suporta ng gobyerno. Pinuri rin ni Gates ang mga hakbang na ginawa ng mga bansa sa Africa tulad ng pagre-reallocate ng budgets ng mga ito. Subalit, bilang halimbawa, hindi anya mapupuksa ang sakit tulad ng polio kung walang pondo mula sa US. NJ De Guzman para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Ipinakita na ng FIFA ang lugar kung saan gaganapin ang 2027 Women's World Cup sa Brazil.
E con grande prazer e expectativa que parabenizo as 8 cidades brasileiras selecionadas para sediar a Copa do Mundo Feminina da FIFA 2027. Belo Horizonte, Brasília, Fortaleza, Porto Alegre, Recife, Rio de Janeiro, Salvador e São Paulo. Seguiremos trabalhando em estreita colaboração com as cidades sede na emocionante jornada que temos pela frente, criando momentos inesquecíveis em cada dos estádios de vocês em 2027 e garantindo que esse torneio tenha grande e amplo impacto positivo.
Isa sa mga napili ay ang Maracana Stadium sa Rio de Janeiro. Kabilang din ang mga lugar na Belo Horizonte, Capital Brasilia, Fortaleza, Porto Alegre, Recife, Salvador at Sao Paulo. Lahat anya ng mga stadium na nabanggit ay ginamit na noong 2014 Men's World Cup kung saan host din ang Brazil. Sa Maracana Stadium ay doon tinalo ng Germany ang Argentina sa extra time. Sinabi ni Brazilian Football Association President Ednaldo Rodriguez na ang nasabing sport ay lumalaki sa Brazil kung saan inaasahan nila na marami pa ang magkaka-interes dito.
Cada canto deste país continental vai sentir o impacto do Mundial. Uma Copa feita pelo povo e para o povo brasileiro. Em locais onde a hospitalidade acolhe e inspira. A partir de agora, seguimos lado a lado com as cidades sedes para garantir que cada uma delas esteja plenamente representada nessa grande competição, não apenas mostrando o que tem de melhor, mas, acima de tudo, colhendo os frutos que esse evento pode gerar. A Copa do Mundo Feminina da FIFA no Brasil deixará um legado duradouro vai impulsionar o desenvolvimento do futebol feminino, movimentar a economia, valorizar a cultura regional, promover a inclusão social, fortalecer a coletividade e inspirar novas gerações de mulheres em todo o país.
Mga Kanet 25, heto na po ang ating inaabangan dahil mapapanood na ang Summer Blast 2025 TV special bilang handog po namin sa pagpapatuloy ng ating 25th year anniversary celebration. Balikan ang mga masasayang ganap sa inaabangang summer event ng taon. Tutukan ang hitik sa saya at all-out performances mula sa mga P-pop groups katulad ng Kalista, Horizon at New ID. Kasama rin sa masayang jamming ang iba pang artists katulad ng Sunkissed Lola, Jumanji at ang Asia's pop royalty Miss Sarah Geronimo. Hosted by Pia Guanyo Mago, Diana Meneses at Emma Tiglao with Star Cara co-host Giro Custodio at Via Lorica. Huwag palampasin ang Summer Blast 2025, the TV special ngayong Sabado na po yan ng gabi, alas 9 ng gabi. Dito lamang sa paborito ninyong family entertainment channel, walang iba kundi ang Net 25.
Susunod, Sir David Attenborough nagbigay ng mensahe para sa kanyang 99th birthday.
5 fur parents nagdagsaan sa Pet Expo Bangkok 2025.
At abangan ang iba pang mga storya pagdating ni Alma Angeles at ng Net25 World News. Patuloy pa rin pong umantabay, magbabalik pa ang mata ng Agila International.
Alam nyo ba na mas pinadali pa ng COMELEC ang pagboto para sa mga nasa vulnerable sectors? Para sa ating senior citizens, persons with disability at pregnant voters, may priority polling place na para lang sa inyo. Ito ay isang espesyal na polling place na nasa ground floor lamang para hindi po kayo mahirapan. Pero dapat, hindi ka nakarehistro sa accessible polling place. May early voting hours din from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Pwede na kayong bumoto sa mga voting centers at piling malls. Iwas sa maraming tao, mas safe para sa inyo. Para sa mga indigenous peoples, ang COMELEC na mismo ang lalapit sa inyo. Meron pong accessible voting center na malapit o nasa komunidad ninyo. Hindi nyo na po kailangan maglakbay ng malayo. Ang mga persons deprived of liberty naman ay maaaring bumoto sa special polling place na nandyan mismo sa inyong jail facility. Kaya huwag mag-alala. Maginhawa pagboto, sigurado! Ang COMELEC po ang mag-aalaga sa inyo. Serbisyong may puso. Tara na!
Sa kanyang 99th birthday, nagbigay ng mensahe si Sir David Attenborough ukol sa pangangalaga sa kalikasan.
After living for nearly 100 years on this planet, I now understand the most important place on Earth is not on land, but at sea. Through the course of my life, we have been on a voyage of ocean discovery. Only now are we understanding what it means for the future of our world.
Sinabi nito na ang pinakamahalagang lugar sa ating mundo ay hindi ang lupa, kung hindi ang buong karagatan. Kasabay nito ang global release ng kanyang pinakabagong nature documentary na Pinamagatang Ocean, na pinapakita kung paano nagbago ang karagatan sa 100 years na nagdaan. Sa press release ni Attenborough, nilarawan niya ang kanilang mga nadiskubre sa kanilang pangangalap ng footage para sa documentary. Nagbigay din ito ng mga rason kung bakit nasa malubang kalagayan ang ating katubigan at nagbigay din ito ng mga solusyon kung paano ito magagawa ng paraan. Si Sir David Attenborough ay isang kilalang host, historian at biologist na kilala para sa kanyang mga presentasyon katulad ng Natural World, Wildlife, Planet Earth at The Blue Planet. Nagkaroon din ito ng maraming parangal bilang isang long-time presenter at nature advocate bago siya formal na maging isang knight noong taong 1985.
For if we save the sea, we save our world.
At mula naman po sa mga underwater creatures, tumako naman tayo sa balita tungkol sa mga hayop na may mga fur. Dahil marami po mga fur parents ang dumalo sa taunang Pet Expo para mag-avail ng mga serbisyo para sa kanilang fur babies. Higit sa 850 booths ang nag-aabang sa Queen's Rikki National Convention Center sa Bangkok, Thailand para ialok ang kanilang produkto katulad ng pet food, accessories, modern pet care at marami pang iba. Layo ng event na ito na magkaroon ng isang hub para sa mga pet lovers and industry professionals. Ayon sa 2024 Euromonitor report, malaki ang naging paglago ng demand ng pet industry sa Thailand dahil dumami ang bilang ng mga pet owners sa nasabing bansa ng 15% noong pagitan ng 2020 at 2024. At narito po kami para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Happy weekend everyone. Ako po muli si Rikki Mathay.
Ako naman si Nina Rikki, Alagao, Flores na bumabati rin po sa inyo ng happy weekend. Ito po ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa ibang mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay Alma Angeles para naman sa Net 25 World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for Net 25 World News. On tonight's headlines. A developing story along the volatile western border of India, where a dangerous escalation of conflict with neighboring Pakistan is unfolding. Overnight and into early Friday, the Indian Army reported a significant surge in hostilities, accusing Pakistani armed forces of launching what they described as, quote, multiple attacks utilizing drones and other munitions. With just days to go before the 2025 Philippine general election on May 12, the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, assured the public that all systems are go for a smooth and secure voting process.
Handa po ang COMELEC. Siyempre, lagi sa isang operation, sa isang ganito, meron biglang pumapasok na problema, issue. Ang importante, intact yung aming contingency measures, intact yung aming operation plan sa kung ano ang gagawin ng komisyon pagka mga ganito.
A developing story along the volatile western border of India, where a dangerous escalation of conflict with neighboring Pakistan is unfolding. Overnight and into early Friday, the Indian Army reported a significant surge in hostilities, accusing Pakistani armed forces of launching what they described as, quote, multiple attacks utilizing drones and other munitions. Take a look.
Shelling from Pakistan damaged several religious sites and homes in Indian Kashmir near the Pakistani border on the second day of major clashes between the nuclear-armed neighbours on Thursday. Residents here are calling for a ceasefire after a statement released by the Indian government said 16 lives were lost in the cross-border fire. It comes as Pakistan said it shot down 25 drones from India in its airspace on Thursday. India said it neutralized Pakistan's attempts to strike military targets with drones and missiles. The fighting has spread a day after India said it hit terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan in the early hours of Wednesday. This footage, posted by the Indian Army on X, whose date and location was unable to be verified by Reuters, is said to show terrorist camps being destroyed in Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir. The escalation has been sparked 2 weeks after India accused Pakistan of involvement in an attack on Indian Kashmir in which 26 people, mostly Hindu tourists, were killed. Islamabad had denied the accusation and vowed to retaliate to missile strikes.
India has created a hype since yesterday about Pakistan attacking 15 locations. The 15 locations they're talking about.
It is such a fantastic and cooked up story that you can just laugh about it. I'll ask few questions on this. The first question is is the Indian government and the armed forces, are they living in 18th century or 21st century? Because in 21st century, every projectile leaves a digital trace and signature.
Pakistan says at least 31 of its civilians were killed and dozens wounded in Wednesday's strikes and in cross-border shelling across the frontier in Kashmir. Pakistan's information minister told Parliament Pakistani forces had killed 40 to 50 Indian soldiers on the de facto border and blown Indian military installations.
At the line of control, we have not only killed 40 to 50 Indian soldiers, but we have also destroyed their brigade headquarters, and you saw the fire. I'm not talking about a unit. In conventional warfare, destroying an entire brigade headquarters is a major success.
On Thursday, Indian government ministers in New Delhi said the strikes on Pakistan had killed more than 100 terrorists and that the count was still ongoing, government sources said. Both governments have pledged to respond if one attacks the other. However, ministers from both sides have said they don't intend to escalate the situation or are ready to de-escalate. The US, China and Russia have urged both sides to show restraint in the interests of peace and stability and have offered support. The relationship has been fraught with tension since India and Pakistan gained independence from colonial Britain in 1947. The countries have fought 3 wars, 2 of them over Kashmir, and clashed countless times.
And tensions continue to simmer in the South China Sea as China voices strong opposition to joint patrols recently conducted by the Philippines, the United States, and Australia.
The current situation in the South China Sea is generally stable. Countries enjoy the freedom of navigation and overflight there in accordance with the law, and there is no problem with that. In carrying out activities in the South China Sea, all countries should observe international law and act in the spirit of the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties, DOC, in the South China Sea, and should not target any third countries or endanger regional peace and stability.
But Lin didn't stop there. He accused the Philippines of violating international agreements and stirring up trouble at sea.
The Philippines has violated international law and the DOC and frequently made infringements and provocations and made troubles at sea, enticing and acting in concert with forces outside the region to mess up and flex muscles in the South China Sea. It is reconciled to make itself a chess piece of others, and in the end it will swallow the bitter result it has made on its own. The United States and other countries outside the region have constantly cobbled small cliques in the South China Sea, stoking confrontation in the name of cooperation, flexing muscles in the name of freedom, and sowing chaos in the name of order. They are the utmost source of risk undermining peace and stability in the South China Sea.
China, Lin said, is committed to safeguarding its territorial sovereignty and maritime rights.
China always firmly safeguards its territorial sovereignty and maritime rights and interests and is resolutely committed to working with other countries in the region to maintain peace and stability in the South China Sea. China advises relevant countries to cease forming cliques and stirring up troubles in the South China Sea and stop undermining regional peace and stability.
And staying in the West Philippine Sea, tensions remain high as Chinese maritime forces continue to show increased aggression toward Filipino naval vessels patrolling the disputed waters. The Department of National Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. said he expects this pattern of aggressive behavior to continue, especially around Scarborough Shoal, also known locally as Bajo de Masinloc. And this comes after a May 5 incident where 2 Chinese frigates and a China Coast Guard vessel conducted what the Philippine military called aggressive and unsafe maneuvers against the Philippine Navy's offshore patrol vessel BRP Emilio Jacinto. Now, videos from the patrol showed one Chinese frigate dangerously crossing the bow of the Philippine ship, while another tailed it closely, actions that risked collision and violated international maritime rules. A China Coast Guard ship also attempted to block the Philippine vessel's path, further escalating the situation about 11.8 nautical miles southeast of Scarborough Shoal. Despite these provocations, Secretary Teodoro stressed that the Philippines remains undeterred. Filipino naval forces will continue their routine patrols in the area, which is part of the country's sovereign jurisdiction.
Well, I mean, it is obvious which country does not adhere to the rule of law here. It is only China. I mean, it's bukod tangi po sila. No? Valedictorian po sila saka hindi kasusunod ng rule of law. Kung may ginawang tama yung bansa na yan, yun. Ngayon, hindi bansa, baguhin ko, yung partido na nangangasiwa sa kanila. Ngayon, of course, hindi pwede siguro akong ma-disappoint sa latest na nangyayari. Hindi disappoint yun, expected yun. I mean, kaya kailangan paghandaan itong mga ito, no? At tutulan, no?
Sir, reaction lang po doon.
More of the same. I mean, alangan naman hindi natin gawin ang katungkulan natin sa ating jurisdiction sa ilalim ng batas. Hindi pwede yun. Sila ba nagdidikta ng batas ng mundo? Hindi.
Sir.
The largest ever Balikatan exercises between the Philippines and the United States have officially come to a close, wrapping up 3 weeks of intensive joint military training. This 40th iteration of Balikatan featured around 17,000 troops, including 5,000 Filipino and 10,000 American personnel, along with forces from Australia and observers from 19 countries worldwide.
Of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, and by virtue of the authority vested in me as the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, I hereby declare Exercise Balikatan 40-2025 officially closed. Congratulations to everyone. Mabuhay tayong lahat.
What set Balikatan 2025 apart was its full battle test, a comprehensive simulation that integrated real-world forces with virtual and constructive scenarios across all domains: air, land, sea, space, and cyber. The exercises included missile defense drills, maritime strike operations, humanitarian civic assistance, and command and control exercises, all designed to sharpen interoperability and readiness between the allied forces. For the first time, the drills showcased advanced systems like the Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship, Interdiction System, a ground-based ship killer missile, as well as integrated air and missile defense simulations. The exercises took place across Luzon, Palawan, Visayas, and Mindanao, underscoring the broad scope and strategic importance of the drills in defending Philippine sovereignty. Officials from the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the U.S. Marine Corps emphasized that Balikatan remains a vital demonstration of the enduring alliance under the Mutual Defense Treaty.
Each year, Balikatan has grown in complexity and ambition, matching the pace of our flourishing bilateral relationship. Balikatan 2025 included a full battle test, during which our forces had the opportunity to engage all services in all domains in a simulated scenario designed to test our readiness to respond to any crisis together. This is the first time Balikatan has included such a simulation, demonstrating our alliance's ability to deliver peace through strength. Off the battlefield, U.S. and Philippine forces work shoulder to shoulder on humanitarian projects to provide infrastructure, supplies, and essential services to 300,000 Filipinos in 5 communities, a total investment of over 88 million pesos.
From forces of different persuasions who do not understand the rule of law, who do not understand good faith, and whose perceptions of what good faith are may differ from ours, the best way to make ourselves more resilient is to build strong fences. And these exercises, together with exercises with and amongst our partners and future partners, are part of those fence posts that we need to build in order to deter any malign actor from interfering with what international law provides each and every one of us.
With just days to go before the 2025 Philippine general election on May 12, the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, assured the public that all systems are go for a smooth and secure voting process.
Handa po ang COMELEC. Siyempre, lagi sa isang operation, sa isang ganito, meron biglang pumapasok na problema, issue. Ang importante, intact yung aming contingency measures, intact yung aming operation plan sa kung ano ang gagawin ng komisyon pagka mga ganito. Sana, sa ganung pagkakataon, sana po walang postponement ng eleksyon na mangyayari. At sana wala ng failure of election sa kahit na anong presinto sa buong bansa.
On election eve, May 11, all forms on campaigning are strictly banned. Candidates and their supporters are also prohibited from giving or receiving free transportation, food, drinks, or anything of value. A liquor ban will be in effect except in authorized tourist establishments. Come election day itself, May 12, campaigning and vote solicitation are not allowed within 30 meters of polling places. Voters are reminded that voting more than once or voting for another person is illegal and punishable by law. Also banned on election day are the opening of stalls or selling of goods near polling stations, as well as holding fairs, cockfights, or similar events that could disrupt the voting process.
Babala natin pagkatapos bumoto o bago bumoto, huwag na lang pong ikot ng ikot sa polling place kasi baka ma-consider pa yan na pangangampanya. Dapat po dire-diretso na lang sa pagboto, dire-diretso na rin tayo sa ating pong pag-uwi.
As we gear up for Monday's midterm elections, the Bureau of Fire Protection is taking extra precautions to ensure public safety. The BFP has declared a red alert status starting today, mobilizing around 32,000 personnel across the country.
As to the figures, lahat tayo sa field ng Bureau of Fire Protection ay ongoing ang roving, ang fire truck visibility po natin. Ang ibigay ko na lang po siguro yung data on mga inspected polling precincts which are nasa 22,946. And out of that, around 5,571 po yung ongoing nga po ang compliance nila. Again, yung atin pong mga firefighters sa field units natin, sa mga fire stations, ay ongoing po ang conduct ng fire inspection at fire truck visibility.
Meanwhile, the Commission on Elections has also announced special voting hours to make the May 12 elections more accessible for senior citizens, persons with disabilities, and persons deprived of liberty voting in jail facilities. COMELEC spokesperson John Rex Laudianco said these voters will have exclusive early voting hours from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. at their assigned precincts. Now, this is designed to give them a safer and more convenient voting experience.
Nalawig po ang oras ng botohan mula 5 a.m. po hanggang 7 a.m. ay para lamang eksklusibo senior citizens, persons with disabilities at pregnant women. Talagang itinalaga po ito para sa kanila, hindi tayo makasabay na regular na botante. Ang regular voting hours po ay mula 7 a.m. hanggang 7 p.m. Pero halimbawa po, yung mga vulnerable sectors na ayaw gumising ng maaga, pwede naman po bumoto doon sa 7 a.m. sa 7 p.m. Priority pa rin po. Doon po sa ating persons deprived of liberty na pabobotohin po namin doon sa mga jail facilities, ang inyong pong pagboto ay mula 7 a.m. hanggang 3 p.m. dahil po yung kanilang balota na gagamitin ay dapat pong madala sa presinto na pinagkunan at maisama doon sa mabasa at maitransmit.
COMELEC also reminded the public about some important do's and don'ts to keep in mind on Election Day. He said voters are allowed to bring their cell phones to the polling precincts, but using them inside the voting area is strictly prohibited.
Na po sa lahat, bawal po gumamit ng cellphone. Hindi po namin kayo babawalan na dalhin ninyo ang cellphone, ngunit hindi po kayo papahintulutang gumamit niyan. Bawal na bawal po kunan ng inyong pagboto, ang inyong balota, ang pag-feed sa ACM, lalong-lalo na screen at yung resibo kung saan makikita ang balota, ang boto ninyo. Yan po isang election offense, kasong kriminal po yan. Pero ang pinakamaganda po, payo namin, pagdating ninyo sa paaralan, may listahan na po kayo. Based on our time and motion studies, yung may listahan na. Napakabilis mo matapos, 5 minuto, tapos na. At ito po pinakamaganda, responsabling pagboto dahil hindi po nanguhula kung sino na lang iboboto.
Today, Russia marked the 80th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany in World War II with a grand parade in Moscow's Red Square. Chinese President Xi Jinping was a special guest, attending amid tight security measures put in place to guard against any possible Ukrainian attacks after 3 years of devastating conflict. Take a look.
Мы помним уроки Второй мировой войны и никогда не согласимся с искажением ее событий, с попытками оправдать палачей и оболгать подлинных победителей.
U.S. President Donald Trump and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer have announced a limited bilateral trade agreement. Now, the deal leaves in place Trump's 10% tariffs on British exports. It modestly expands agricultural access for both countries and lowers prohibitive U.S. duties on British car exports. Thomas I likeness for more.
Trump made the announcement Thursday in the Oval Office. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer joined the announcement by phone from London. The UK is the first country to secure a trade deal with the Trump administration, although the agreement is more of an outline of a deal. A number of details still have to be worked out. Starmer says British workers will benefit from the agreement.
And that is a deal that will protect British businesses and save thousands of jobs in Britain. Really important, skilled, well-paid jobs. It will remove tariffs on British steel and aluminium, reducing them to zero. It will provide vital assurances for our life sciences sector, so important to our economy, and grant unprecedented market access for British farmers without compromising our high standards.
Trump is hailing it as a big deal, and he says he welcomes greater access to the United Kingdom's markets.
With this deal, the UK joins the United States in affirming that reciprocity and fairness is an essential and vital principle of international trade. The deal includes billions of dollars of increased market access for American exports, especially in agriculture, dramatically increasing access for American beef, ethanol, and virtually all of the products produced by our great farmers.
Investors seemed encouraged by the deal, which fueled a rally on Wall Street. Trump has been under pressure from investors to strike deals and de-escalate his trade war. Investment strategist Marianne Bartels says the deal with the UK is encouraging.
We're having a great reaction, and that's primarily due to the tariffs, again, coming to a resolution with the United Kingdom, with the UK. And I kind of feel with tariffs, it feels like 2 steps forwards, 1 step back, 2 steps forwards, 1 step back, but we're trending higher in the markets. So I really like the market reaction. I think it's doing very well. It doesn't mean that we can't have more volatility, but I think the worst is over for the markets. I think the low is already set.
Business leaders in both countries expressed disappointment that a number of British imports, including cars, still face a 10% tariff, although that's down from the current 27.5%. Economist Olivia O'Sullivan says it's a bit of a win for the UK, but she remains skeptical because of the lack of details.
What Starmer seems to have secured are reductions in the tariffs on cars and on steel and aluminium. So that is something of a win for the UK, and those industries will get some relief as a result of the negotiating that the UK government has done. But we should be a bit cautious because we haven't seen a lot of detail. And also because Trump in the past has gone back on deals that he's made with countries.
O'Sullivan says while some benefits have been gained in this agreement, getting a long-term deal will have its challenges. And she says part of the difficulty is trying to figure out what Trump's goals are and how to approach him.
We could argue that the Starmer government's approach of being quite careful in its approach to the Trump administration, engaging to some degree in kind of flattery and not responding to every outrageous thing that Trump says has yielded some dividends, but the long-term strategy is still going to be challenging. This deal is very light on details. These exemptions will help some industries, but the trade relationship with the US remains highly uncertain when it's not clear what Trump's overall strategy is.
Thursday's agreement comes ahead of this weekend's meeting between American and Chinese trade officials. They're meeting in Switzerland. Trump says he expects the negotiations to be substantive.
Now, China wants to do something. And look, they have to at this point. You know, essentially, they made $1 trillion a year, and now they have absolutely, no business because of the tariffs. They have no business, and they want to have business. And we want them to have business. We want them to do well. We want them to do very well. So I think it's going to be very substantive.
Trump says he may meet with China's President Xi in the future. Thomas I. Likeness, Net 25 World News.
And the news continues here on Net 25. We'll be right back. President Trump is once again publicly criticizing Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, this time over interest rates. And he claims the Fed is refusing to lower rates, which he says would be a major boost to the economy.
Go ahead, please.
The Federal Reserve Chairman, Mr. President, says that you would have to call him for a meeting. You plan to meet with him. What do you think about him?
It's like talking to a wall. He should be.
I'm not cutting. The Bank of England cut.
Well, the Bank of England cut. China cut. Everybody's cutting but him. It's I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's a shame. I call him Too Late, Too Late Powell, that's his nickname, and it's a shame, it's ridiculous. So a meeting, he's always too late. But in this case, it's not going to matter that much because our country is so strong.
The president went further, suggesting that Powell is intentionally refusing to lower rates due to personal animosity.
If the chairman of the Fed, Jerome, if he would lower interest rates like China did, like I think UK did, but like numerous other countries have done, it's like jet fuel, it'd be great. But he doesn't want to do it. I think he doesn't want to do it. Probably he's not in love with me. I think that's right. It's sort of a crazy reason, but that's the way life is. Anybody in his position would be like, it would be like jet fuel. But even without that, we're doing well. But remember that.
The Fed, however, held interest rates steady this week, maintaining the current range. When asked directly about the president's public pressure, Chair Powell was clear.
So then how does President Trump calling on you personally, as well as the Federal Reserve, to make rate cuts affect your decision today and affect your job difficulty?
Doesn't affect our doing our job at all. So we're always going to do the same thing, which is we're going to use our tools to foster maximum employment and price stability for the benefit of the American people. We're always going to consider only the economic data, the outlook, the balance of risks, and that's it. That's all we're going to consider. So it really doesn't affect either our job or the way we do it.
Bill Gates is sounding a stark alarm, saying that cuts to the U.S. foreign aid budget, spearheaded by Elon Musk's department, will lead to a tragic increase in global debts. The billionaire philanthropist, who pledged to donate $200 billion through his foundation by 2045, warned in an interview that decades of progress in reducing mortality are now at risk of being reversed within the next 4 to 6 years due to these funding reductions.
For global health, we can divide into 3 periods. We've got the last 25 years, which have been miraculous, and we've had a chance to be part of that, including things like Global Fund and Gavi. Then we have the next period of time, could be 4 years, 6 years, where we're having funding cuts from a number of countries, including the US, and the number of deaths will start going up for the first time. They went down from around 10 million to less than 5 million, and now, it's going to be millions of more deaths because of the resources. If you zoom out, though, and look at the next 20 years, and the fact that I think governments will come back to caring about children surviving, and that we have a pipeline of innovation, and that my fellow philanthropists, I think, will be giving more to these causes.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, have a great weekend. I'm Alma Angeles. Good night.